The Atlanta Braves offense has gone missing in the month of June. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today, a production of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. The Braves were shut out last night against the San Diego Padres for the sixth time this season. They lost the series opener 1-0. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the idea of extending Mauricio Dubon. He went on the record with his thoughts about staying in Atlanta. I think we should probably talk about it. But first, let's talk about this offense. Because, again, 1-0 last night. And I don't think maybe we fully internalized in the month of June just how bad the Braves have been, right? So, updated stats as of Tuesday morning. Atlanta has played 17 games in the month of June. So, they're tied with the Cubs for fewest because they've had some rainouts. Nobody's played more than 20. So the range here, a lot of teams are at 18, a couple are at 19, few are at 20. Atlanta has scored 61 runs, which is 30th. It's last in baseball. They have hit 17 home runs. That is 29th. In baseball. 17 home runs in 17 games. For context, the Athletics in 19 games have hit 42. Now, yes, they got a week in Vegas. That was a launching pad, them playing at the AAA ballpark. Reportedly, it's not going to be as bad at their new home ballpark that'll be built. And that is an outlier number. There's only 4 teams above 30. But still, Yankees 29, Rockies 30, Orioles 28, Brewers, Phillies, Giants 28, Atlanta 17. And so they haven't been able to produce runs. And when you break it down individually, there's a couple things you can point to. One, the Stars are starring in the month of June. When you look at, I guess, the top 6 guys in the lineup, okay? Matt Olson is hitting 308 in the month of June. It's an 860 OPS. He has 4 home runs. Only 6 RBI, which is the frustrating part, but there you go. Ozzie Albies, 306, 838 OPS. He has 3 home runs in the month. He has 12 RBI and 13 runs scored. Olson has 12 runs scored, but only 6 RBI. So I realized I didn't give the Olson run number. Mauricio Dubon, who they moved to leadoff, is hitting 302 with an 867 OPS. That's right. The highest OPS in the month among the qualifiers is Mauricio Dubon's. Not Matt Olson's, not Michael Harris, not Austin Riley, not Ozzie Albies. No, it's Mauricio Dubon. 867 OPS. He has 4 home runs. He has 13 RBI, which leads the team, and he has 8 runs scored. Part of the reason they moved him up in the order, right? Michael Harris hasn't played as many games as those guys. He's played 14 games, not 17, because of that back issue, right? He's still hitting, though, 294 with a 772 OPS. He only has 1 homer. He's only driven in 5 as compared to 13 for Dubon and 12 for Ozzie. And he has struck out 14 times. So won a game, but it's still pretty decent performance, right? Slug in the mid-4s, OPS in the high 7s. It's not amazing, but it's pretty solid, right? Even Austin Riley has rebounded somewhat. He's hitting 254 this month with a 655 OPS. Albeit 1 run scored, 4 RBI, and no home runs. He's got 4 extra base hits, though. He's got 4 doubles. This is progress. And when you look at Riley's last 7 games, he's 9 for 26. That's like a 340 something batting average. Like it feels like he's starting to have more consistent at-bats and more consistent results. So we'll take it. The problem after that is everybody else is not necessarily carrying their own weight. You got 7 games out of Ronald in the month. He went 6 for 25. 1 extra base hit. So 1 RBI, 4 runs scored. 240 average, 601 OPS. Eli White stepped up a little bit from a extra base hit perspective. 3 extra base hits in the month, but he's 6 for 26. Half of his hits are extra bases. He only has 6 hits, though. It's just a lot of the role players down lower in the lineup who you were counting on, or correction, who have been giving you outsized performances early this season when the offense was really good, are not. Dominic Smith is 7 for 44 this month. Now, he's only got 6 strikeouts and he has 5 walks, but he's 7 for 44. Jorge Mateo, he was hot. We didn't play him in favor of over Ha-Seong Kim, and now he's cooled off. He's 3 for 25. 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 extra base hit. But the biggest problem is, I guess problem may not be the right way to word it. The biggest glaring underperformance is Drake Baldwin. Drake Baldwin hit that home run in his first game back. Since then, he's 1 for 25 with 15 strikeouts. And you'll remember, he missed a month, and then he got 1 minor league rehab game. He was doing live at-bats in Florida. They said, okay, we're going to send you to rehab. You're going to join the Gwinnett Stripers in Jacksonville for the end of their series. He played 7 innings on Saturday. He hit a home run. Sunday was rained out. They brought him to Atlanta. They reinstated him. Since that leadoff home run for in his first game back, he's got 1 hit. And last night may have been probably the worst offensive game of his career. He goes 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts. First time in his career he's had a golden sombrero. And Mark Bowman of MLB.com had a great stat on this. In the 6 games he has played since coming back, Drake Baldwin has struck out 3 times, 3 or more times, in 3 of them. In the 169 games he played before he went on the injured list, dating back to last season, he had 3 games of 3 or more strikeouts. So, yeah, he's definitely not seeing the ball well. His timing's there, not everything. And they asked Drake Baldwin about that in San Diego. And the quote here says that, yeah, maybe Atlanta's approach to these rehab stints is a little bit flawed. Quote, just trying to get back into the speed of a big league game. I'm just trying to find the timing and get back into the flow of it. Not great. Not great. Problem here is he's not the only example where the 2026 Atlanta Braves have cut a rehab stint short. Ha-Seong Kim. Ha-Seong Kim had no spring training, and he got roughly a week and a half of rehab games in the minors, and then they activated them through 21 games going into last night. This is the stats as of yesterday morning, because Jesus Cano, friend of the show from The Athletic, talked to him about it. Through 21 games, he was 5 for 62. 7 walks, 18 strikeouts, a 255 OPS. It's the worst start of his career, obviously. It's the worst start by a Braves primary shortstop in franchise history. It's the worst start by any MLB shortstop since 2019. And his comments showed that he's, one, obviously trying to figure out a way to still be helpful to the team. But two, it feels like it's not easy for him to get out of it when he's not playing consistently. This is quotes given to Jesus Cano, the Athletic, through interpreter David Lee. Quote, "It's obvious that this season has been difficult for me personally. The team is doing well, so I'm trying to contribute the best I can. Sometimes as professionals, it's how it goes, and it is what it is. I'm trying to bounce back from it." Quote, "I'm literally doing anything possible that I can do to help the team win. When I'm playing on the field, I'm trying to play to my strengths, show what I'm good at, and trying to contribute that way." And there's some notes in here. Mauricio Dubon said he's there early. He's working in the cages. He's working on the machine. He's working in batting practice. And there's some thought that it could be his mechanics, lingering issues with his grip strength and stuff in his hand after coming back. Again, remember, Heidi talked about this before the Apple TV game. Heidi Watney of Apple TV talked about this. Just because a player is back physically on the field doesn't mean they are back to normal or peak physical condition. There's lingering effects from these injuries. We saw this with Ozzy's power production last year. First half of the year, his power production was poor as he was working his way back from a wrist injury. And then in the second half, he was farther away from the injury. He started to look more like his old self. So I don't think you can just write any of these guys off. At the same time, the offense is struggling to the point where you've got to play whoever is the hot hand. If you had Ronald Acuna Jr. in the outfield, you can play Dubon at short. You don't. You've got to play Mateo or Kim at short, and right now, neither one of them is giving you much of anything. But speaking of one of those guys, speaking of Mauricio Dubon, he went on the record recently about the idea of signing a new contract, an extension, re-signing, and staying in Atlanta. Let's cover those comments because I think you're going to like to hear them next, right here on Braves Today. But first, this episode's brought to you by our friends at IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom-infused coffees are the tasty, low-sugar brain and body fuel that you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack's a great way to try all of the IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. And all IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom-infused coffees. And the Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. Right now, IQ Bar is offering Braves Today listeners 20% off of all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text to 64000. That's MLB to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. A very common refrain from Braves fans, myself included, has been blue box that man. Give Mauricio Dubon a contract extension. And Gabe Burns of the AJC talked to Dubon about his pending free agency, right? He's scheduled to be a free agent after this year. First time he'll go to free agency. And yeah, Mauricio Dubon is interested in staying in Atlanta. Some of his quotes here, like he's always wanted to play here. So, quote, "I waited 6 years for this opportunity with the Braves. If they come and offer something and it makes sense for me and my family, we're open to hear it. It is what it is at some point. I feel like I've put myself in a good position, but whatever happens, I'd love to stay here, man. But like I say, it's a business." And he's right. Mauricio Dubon's in this weird position of hitting free agency for the first time this winter, at the age of 32. He was a late bloomer in the league. Took a while to get himself established. He debuted in 2018, but it just took him a while. I'm sorry, he was added to a 40-man roster in 2018. It just took him a while to get playing time, to get consistent playing time. And so he's making $6.1 million this year. His career earnings are not bad. He's close to $24 million in career earnings. But at his age, this is his only opportunity, right? This is his only real free agent contract. And so I don't necessarily think you can lowball him, right? I don't think you should lowball him for what he's done for the team. I do think the fact he wants to be here helps. And you're going to be freeing up a lot of money this winter. There's a lot of guys that Atlanta has that are coming free and money will open up. The number one thing right there is Ha-Seong Kim. Ha-Seong Kim's a free agent. You're going to get that $20 million back. There is the money to pay Mauricio Dubon. And while he has performed better in Atlanta than he's performed in some of his other stops, right? So, for instance, Houston 2023 was his best year. 132 games. He hit 10 home runs. He hit 278 with a 720 OPS. This year, 73 games. He already has 7 home runs. He's on pace for 15 homers a year, which would be a career high. He's also on pace for the most games and at-bats he's ever had. I think he's had maybe 2 days off all year, right? He's hitting 262 with a 721 OPS. And you can legitimately believe that there's something different about Atlanta. This is one of the conversations that I've had with people in the Braves Today Discord, on social media, and things like that. He is performing, especially in certain situations, at or above his career numbers. Career numbers. I just compared him to his best offensive season, and he's right there. And there are 2 trains of thought on this. Train of thought number 1 is he's going to regress back into the player that he's always been. Thought number 2 is that something is different and that he has either improved his skill and grown as a player, or something about the environment is different that's allowing him to produce better. And I'm inclined to start thinking that maybe it's that second one, right? In that same conversation with Gabe Burns of the AJC, he specifically talked about Walt Weiss giving him, I think the wording that Gabe Burns used was freedom. The freedom to play his best without overthinking what he needs to do. And some of that comes to the clubhouse culture. Some of that comes to the expectations on him and the fact that you have these other stars who can carry the offense, theoretically, outside of right now. And the other players want him. The article has a bunch of quotes from Austin Riley about how he wants him here. He wants him to be here for more seasons. Just about how, from a manager standpoint, from a roster standpoint, it's tough to replace a guy like that who can play literally anywhere. Riley talks about he's good in the clubhouse. The clutch hitting is a thing. We did that show 2 weeks ago. It was smaller sample sizes, but we talked about who's been the best with runners in scoring position, who's been the best in leverage situations. And Dubon was the best on the roster in all of them. And Gabe has a whole paragraph of statistics in the article. It's like what he's doing with runners in scoring position, what he's doing with men on base, what he's doing with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, what he's doing when the team is trailing. And his stats are fantastic in all of those situations. And Dubon confirmed that he does love it here, right? Quote, I knew the Braves were among the teams who were trying to get me. I knew they were trying to make something happen earlier that year, too, talking about last year, because he was traded in the offseason. But when I got here, it was pretty cool. Since spring training, I knew there was going to be something great here. We've heard Ozzie say similar things recently about how this is the most, just something about this group is special. And yes, right now, some things have been rough, especially the offense. We're going to get to the pitching in a few minutes. But the offense has been rough. But it's still a great group. And you can see that there is some promise here. Now, Dubon confirmed that the team has not yet approached them about an extension. The Braves have done in-season extensions before. The Braves have also waited till, it's usually not, I feel, in June. Usually when the Braves do extensions, they end up being, if they do them during the season, they end up being late in the year. And so that is something to watch for as you get towards the end of the season. Pulling up every extension from Alex Anthopoulos in Atlanta and looking at the dates. Travis d'Arnaud, August 20th, 2021, 2 years, $16 million. Charlie Morton, September 6th, 2021, 1 year, $20 million. Charlie Morton in September of 2022, 1 year, $20 million. Michael Harris, August of 2022, 8 years, $72 million. Travis d'Arnaud again, July of 2023, 1 year, $8 million. They've done in-season extensions before. Spencer Strider was October 10th, right? He was right after the season ended, or technically postseason in 22. October 10th, 6 years, $75 million. Atlanta has done plenty of these towards the end of the season. They've also done some early in April. Ronald and Ozzie signed theirs between 9 days of each other in April of 2019, but that was a different scenario as a young player. I was trying to find more applicable extensions for Dubon's situation, a veteran who can go to free agency, and they're trying to keep him, right? As far as a comp and what would make sense financially for this deal, I don't really know where you would be, right? Coming up, again, he'll come up on age 32. He'll be 32 next month, July 19th. Maybe a 3-year deal. I could see them doing 3 and a club option. I think you probably would want 2 and a club option, but I'm thinking given his age, they'll push for 3 plus a club option. I think you could probably do that. I don't know if 3 for 30 would work for everybody. You may have to go a little bit higher for him. 3 for 35, 3 for 40. But either way, I do think the idea of, hey, we can plug this guy in literally anywhere on the field. He's done everything but catcher. And he can play it for you with great Gold Glove caliber defense is incredibly useful. And so I want to see them get this done. In just a minute, let's talk about the pitching, right? Because the offense is getting a lot of the attention for not being great. But I think it's worth pointing out that the pitching has struggled as well. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby. Let's talk about the pitching in the month of June. 8.9, 4.15 ERA. That is 19th in... Sorry, I had that backwards. I sorted that backwards. That is 4.15 ERA is 12th in baseball for the month of June. But when you look at the breakdown of it and you look at where it's coming from in the month of June, I think you see some really interesting results that kind of make it clear what you've got to do between now and the trade deadline. Or I guess when you can actually start getting guys. Because there's been no major trades yet. Right? So you look at ERA. Chris Sale leads your starters at 2.65 in the month of June. Grant Holmes is at a 4.96. J.R. Ritchie's at a 4.50, but he only has 2 games, 1 start. Bryce Elder's a 7.54. We've talked about that. By the way, I wrote up more about that, about the whole days of rest thing. I went and looked at how his stuff performs differently in locations and everything on the newsletter today. So go check that out, bravestoday.com. And then Spencer Strider, 11.25 ERA in 2 starts. And a lot of that was the second one where he struggled. But the thing that stands out the most to me is in the month of June, because of, one, how few games you've played, and then the struggles you've had offensively, the strength being that high leverage group in the back end, you haven't been able to get the ball to them. When you go to the reliever usage, Ronaldo Lopez is first in reliever usage in this month with 8.1 innings pitched. Dylan Dodd has 8 innings pitched. Didier Fuentes has 7 innings pitched. Raisel Iglesias, Robert Suarez have 6.2. Dylan Lee has 5.2. So does James Karinchak. James Karinchak has been used as much as Dylan Lee. And then Tyler Kinley only has 2 2/3 because he's been out, although he's supposed to come back this week, so you've got to figure out who you're going to move here. And when you look at, like, yesterday, obviously, the offense, the pitching was not the problem for the Braves. Now, was the pitching very efficient? Not really. The pitching was not efficient at all. Grant Holmes needed 100 pitches almost and didn't make it out of the 5th. But they allowed 1 Padres run in the game. And I do want to point out something weird, too, on that home run by Manny Machado in the 4th. So I'm not explicitly saying this was Drake Baldwin's fault, but I want to kind of get the understanding of this. Okay, so Manny Machado, second time through the order. They open him up with a slider in the dirt. So they're down 1-0. Baldwin calls a thigh-high slider on the outer third. Machado swings through it. They then come inside with a sinker that looks like it's going to catch the corner of the plate, and it runs in and drops a little bit. So it's both down and inside. And Machado fouls it off. I understand the correct idea here. You got him outside. You got him inside. The correct idea is to go back outside. But Baldwin calls for a slider in the same spot as that first strike, as that swinging strike where they got that whiff. So it's the same pitch in the same location. And Holmes does a pretty good job of getting it there. It's a little bit higher than what Baldwin called for, but it's the same ballpark, right? They got it. They got the outer third slider in the bottom half of the zone. And Machado launches it. 418 feet to dead center, 105 off the bat, home run. I just don't understand why you would go on a 1-2 count, why you're not calling for that slider to be at the bottom of the zone or below the zone to see if you'll get him to chase. On a 1-2 count, the idea of going back to the exact same spot that he has already seen, just, I don't quite get it. And I understand the whole concept of you do things until they don't work. But at the same time, he's seen that pitch in the last 30 seconds. Why go back and give him another opportunity to hit that same pitch? I don't get it. I didn't understand at the time. I slept on it. I still don't understand it. But there you go. But anyway, outside of that, the bullpen pitched pretty well. Didier Fuentes came in to finish up that 5th inning. 2 runners on. He throws 4 pitches, all fastballs, get the strikeout. They're out of it. Karinchak comes in 1 2/3, no hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He threw more fastballs than curveballs. He didn't look his best, and it still was pretty effective. And then Dylan Dodd finishes up the final 1 1/3, 1 hit, 1 walk, strikes out 3. And you could see a lot of good things in this game. Grant Holmes got 7 ground ball outs. Problem was he also walked 5 guys. Dylan Dodd's now going to be down because he threw 39 pitches. He's not going to come back until probably Friday in San Francisco. But the point is, the pitching looked good. And Grant Holmes wasn't great. The goal right now with Grant Holmes is a 5 and dive. You saw how he tried to change up what he was doing a little bit to keep opposing hitters just off balance. I talked about this in the scouting report yesterday. He has to walk a fine line between being too aggressive at preemptively changing his sequencing and doing the same thing until they start to figure it out. And that Machado example, perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? You can't do the exact same thing, but you can also do wholesale changes to your sequencing and give up the advantage that you have. And maybe that explains why the second time through, teams have been really good off of Grant Holmes. Yesterday, he keeps the same basic concept, right? It's sinker slider the first time through. Four-seam fastball is the third pitch. Second time through, he ramps up the slider, cuts back on the sinker a little bit, sprinkles in a couple more changeups, but he kept the idea. And then the third time through, which he obviously didn't finish, he only got the first three batters, but that's where he really started changing. He went sinker four-seamer, a lot of changeups, more curveballs. He really doesn't use that curveball nearly enough. One of those changes, I want to kind of find out why he did that. But you could see how he was trying to walk the fine line between wholesale changes in what you're doing before they're able to hit it and not just running back the exact same thing. And if Grant Holmes wants to be the best version of himself, I think that's how you have to do it, right? You have to be a little more, you have to stick with the basic concept of what works, but sprinkle in other things. Again, he needs to throw the curveball more. The cutter used to be one of his best pitches. He threw 4 of them last night. He's just cut back on how much he uses the cutter. And they were all to lefties too, I think, which makes sense if you think about it, right? Something that breaks in on their hands. You elevate it up. You try to locate it inner third and up. It's going to break in on their hands pretty well, right? But I'm curious to see what the Braves do as a response today to that game and to the struggles yesterday. Braves Today sponsor FanDuel does not have a line on today's game. The Padres, last I saw, have still not announced who their starter is. Again, Griffin Canning lines up to be the guy. And so if he is the guy, it'll be J.R. Ritchie versus Griffin Canning. Although again, we don't know who it is, so we can't get any sort of lines, previews, anything like that. So I may just have to wait until the lineup is out this afternoon to see who it's going to be so I can do the scouting report. So stay tuned for that. Come back to the channel, come back to the podcast feed late this afternoon for the scouting report as we talk about all that stuff. But that'll do it for Braves Today. Please like the video, please subscribe. We'll see you next time on Braves Today.